everyone. It has come to my attention that I will be old enough to run for president by 2028. The only way I have a shot is by saying that I'm running for president every single day. And for other people to also let other people know that if you write Trixie Stork on your ballot in 2028, I might become president next election. My platform: make me president, I will be president. I don't know what the president does, because I haven't been trained for the job yet. But I will do the job. My cabinet will include Mr. Beast, Dima Foxpaws, and probably other people to be determined in the coming 4 years. That's all there is to say about it so far. Welcome to another reading request stream. To start with, I'll read something I wrote recently. Just a little flash fiction. Man, I hope my audio is all good and stuff, and I'm not just like I didn't just blow my whole intro. That would suck.
Black Friday in July is here. Thousands of deals under $20.
Ads on my video. Well, that's nice. It's nice that there's ads there. This is an open and shut case by Trixie Stork. Damn it, I just zipped those up in the... She trailed off, hurriedly returning to a 32-gallon black Gregory bag, a cavernous gym throw, except this one has a Kevlar bottom, she'd tell quickly, coiling her fingers round a plastic grip string tied to the Zifter's hefty metal pull tab and whipping the slider down the chain. She twisted her wrist to slip the tape curves in a single big motion. Which ones did you want? She asked, barely angling her chin up to her shoulder to send back the sound of her voice while clawing into the cave of clothing. Stuffed into the bag just as haphazardly moments earlier, the clothes were emptied back onto the queen-sized hotel bed. Are the purple ones clean? He asked, watching her back and the thick, fluffy brown ponytail swaying over her bikini lace above an even fluffier, more lightly brown tail, practically twirling in circles while she spread out all of their clothes onto last night's sleeping surface. Not really, she said, not even having to check. She remembered the sauce stain she'd seen when packing the purple ones earlier. The green ones are fine then, he said with the slightest sigh of disappointment, wanting to get away with the purple ones for a third day in a row. The green ones are here. She produced a pair of green shorts from the pile and then tossed them over shoulder. He flinched on his way to catching them. She shoved the rest of the clothes back into the bag and shut it with the same speed she had opened it. Get him on and let's go to the pool. Zip, whip, whip. Anyway, that is a flash fiction. I wrote this inspired by the idea of making a story called An Open and Shut Case that is about opening and shutting a case. And in this case, the case that I chose is a big bag, because it's a bag I actually own. I just decided to tell a story about my actual life and things that happen all the time. Like when someone asks you for an article of clothing, but you've just packed away all the clothing thinking that you're already dressed, not realizing they haven't actually put their shorts on yet. And you're like, oh, fuck. I pull it all back out to find the shorts in question because I didn't organize these in any way. And I wanted to make it sort of mysterious what exactly is going on until the last second, because it's a very boring story about looking for a pair of shorts. But the way it's written, there's a sense of mystery because I don't really specify what it is, I just zipped those up. Which ones did you want? Are the purple ones clean? The green ones are fine. The green ones are here. Finally, you realize it's shorts, It's not that you expect anything tremendously mysterious, but just leaving that kind of hanging. It also plays into the idea that, because an open and shut case is usually what you would call a mystery that's not a mystery, I guess, like something that literally in a police procedural, an open and shut case means that you figured out what happened immediately. Like, oh, that guy shot that guy, open and shut case, so it's like a very uncomplicated mystery. That's what I was going for anyway, writing it. Just figured, how often do you get the chance as a writer to immediately explain what was the mentality behind what you just created? Also, we've created
I just completed
something.
watching Go Go Loser Ranger, and here are all my thoughts on the show. The plot centers on
Oh my god,
a minion
it's
called
adorable.
Fighter D, who fights an analog to Super Sentai in this world of Dragon Keepers, where the Dragon Keepers have powers of gods within their weapons. The goal of Fighter D is to essentially defeat and kill all of the members of the Dragon Keeper team, as they completely killed all of their boss monsters, who were essentially the overlords for the fighters, as all the fighters are named from A to Z, and it's revealed later on that there's also an underground fighters group, as the show follows this sort of plot, where Fighter D takes the disguise of Sakurarama Hibiki, as he essentially takes his place within this world of the Dragon Keepers as being a member of the task force, whose job is to keep the safety of everyone in Japan, as they make a show every Sunday, kind of reminiscent of how Super Sentai is aired every Sunday with Kamen Rider. My impressions of the first episode was amazing. I was surprised of the level of detail in the character designs and the overall style.
Enough. Just think about winning and the human race's unlimited capacity for depravity. That's all that you need to consider. Winning. And what happens if you don't win? So that's why you got to make me president. If you make me president, I will be president. I'll do the job. That's my platform. I will do the job of be president. Make Dick Masterson Treasury Secretary? Maybe. I know I want I think Mr. Beast might have to be the Treasury Secretary. I think Mr. Beast has exhibited an understanding of money beyond what anyone else has ever demonstrated a capacity for. That's why he needs to be in my cabinet. Honestly, I mean, I would vote for Mr. Beast for president, but he's too young. He's literally too young to be president for another 9 years. But not me. I'm only too young to be president for another, 3 years. Which is crazy. I had not even fucking thought about it. I hadn't thought I was that close to being presidentially aged. But I could be the youngest president of all time. Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and let me make sure that this is on screen. It's just about, taking it one step at a time, but constantly thinking, what decision can I make right now that will get me closer to being president? And right now, the answer is to put it, there we go. To exceed 2024, I will be president. Yeah. I think I can do it, gang. I think I can do the presidency. I think that I'm capable of presidency. All I got to do is preside. Your job is literally president. I can preside. I preside every day. I literally do presidential activity on the day-to-day basis. How different could being president be from answering super chats? Almost not different at all. Like having a constant stream of people telling you their opinion of what you're doing, and sometimes one of them pays you to pay more attention to them, that sounds like being president. So I'm pretty sure I could do it. There's nobody watching right now, is there? It says 3 viewers. That's so low. Makes me think I'm secretly dead. I'm in a world of not reality. I'm derealized. What's it called in the Avengers movies when everybody gets like fucking undone, erased from reality for a while? What do they call that? Like the state of being that. These are presidential thoughts. These are the kind of things that the president has to think about. If I'm going to be president, that means I'm going to be presiding over tremendously more people than the number that are in my chat right now. So I have to imagine there would be way more chatter, way more people trying to get my attention and tell me things. So I guess I'll start by answering everybody who's been in the chat. The music is much less. What music? Music? Gary, are you like back at the start? Oh no. I can't talk to people who are at the start while I'm at 11 minutes. This won't make any sense. All right. Gary always said me and who? Us. Agadine says, I hear you fine. Good. Ripen Disease, my favorite trans black woman. No, I am not trans black. I am sunburnt. Anonymous says, just popping in to say hi. Have a good day, chat. Have a good day yourself, Anonymous. Agadine said, it's a big disco ball full of evil apes. Yeah. Snapped? I don't know what you were asking here. The music is much louder than you. I assume Gary is talking about at the very beginning when I was talking over music. But I guess the music was quite loud. Hi, Anon, says Gary. Aggie9 says, I hear no music. I think Gary's crazy. I think we all agree. Jane said, I stayed up watching RG Veda, average anime from the 90s. It's fun to watch with other people. I didn't even realize there was an anime version of RG Veda. That's like the first Clamp manga. I tried to read it once, and it is unreadable, in my opinion. But that was before Clamp learned how to like draw facial expressions. They just knew how to draw like cool outfits on just the most like plain-faced characters possible. Maybe that didn't change too much. But man, their faces sucked back then. It's a 2-episode OVA. Amazing. I know there was also a Tokyo Babylon 2-episode OVA from back then. And then, once they had Ray Earth, and that was when it was like, ooh, Clamp. They're like amazing. They draw pretty guys with the widest shoulders possible. That is indeed true. Even in Cardcaptor Sakura, the shoulders are so wide. Sorry about hitting my head into the microphone just now. It was probably quite loud. What do y'all think I should do as president of this live stream right now? I'm trying to practice for being president of the United States in 4 years. Oh, I should probably add US to this so everybody knows what exactly I'm talking about. Trixie 2024, I will be US president. Cool. I think this platform's going to work. I think I got this in the bag. Being the president basically means being like the biggest pick-me in the country, right? Run for president of Brazil. I don't know anything about Brazil, though. I know everything about the United States. Why are you all telling me to become president of Brazil? No, I don't know anything about Brazil. I can't become president about Brazil. Your favorite thing about the OVAs was the ambient soundtrack and the THX logo sound effects they used. That sounds hilarious. If I was American, I'd vote for you. Thank you, Cheese 2000. Well, you can always become American. You can always, through legal channels, become a citizen. I think they just ask you some like dumb questions, but I can teach you all the answers. I can coach anybody who wants to pass the American citizenship test to come become an American and vote for me. Who would be in my cabinet? Mr. Beast and Dima Fox Paws. Those are the only ones I've chosen so far. Dima immediately expressed an interest in being a part of my campaign. And Mr. Beast is already saying that he will run for president, but he's not old enough. Gary, it's slightly more complicated than what? What are you talking about? What is slightly more complicated than what is? But yeah, Mr. Beast and Dima Foxpaws. I'll find more people as time goes on. Becoming a citizen? All right, let's look into it. How do we citizen? This is probably important for the president to know, right? There are several ways to become a U.S. citizen, including by birth, naturalization, or other means. Birth, you may be a U.S. citizen if you were born in the United States or to U.S. citizens abroad. You may also be a citizen if you are under 18 and a lawful permanent resident when both your parents naturalized. Naturalization, you may be eligible for naturalization if you were born outside the U.S. and have been a lawful permanent resident for at least 3 to 5 years. You may also qualify if you meet certain military service requirements. The naturalization process typically takes about 15 months and includes the following steps. Determine your eligibility, complete and submit Form N-400, application for naturalization, attend a biometrics appointment. What the fuck is biometrics? That just mean like they figure out what your genealogy is? Oh, they just figure out what your body looks like. Okay, literally your body's metrics. Complete an interview, receive a decision, attend an oath ceremony, and understand your rights and responsibilities. That sounds easy. So you just got to like be here for a few years, it sounds like. You can also become a citizen by marrying a U.S. citizen or serving in the U.S. military. So all you got to do is marry an American. Green card marriage. That's what most of our marriages are here in Virginia, where I live. So, most of them are both actually. It's U.S. U.S. military members marrying people to make them into U.S. citizens. A lot of my friends are the children of green card marriages. So what I'm trying to say is come to the U.S., marry an American, dilute the white gene pool, and vote for me. Unless you're white, in which case you don't have to dilute the white gene pool. You can just come have kids. I mean, you can come have kids with our American people of color and dilute the white gene pool that way. If that's part of what you're trying to do, which hopefully is, if you're coming to the U.S., hopefully that's part of your goal. Okay. I'm going to be president. Step 1, make enemy of the whites, the dominant race of your country. Step 2, become the U.S. president. No, white people with a sense of humor get to stay. And surely you're a white person with a sense of humor, right? White person watching this? Surely you're not some humorless old stuffy old, are you? You're not some old, are you? You're not one of those boomers, right? You're down to clown with fuck whitey, right? Young people, young voters who are being activated by the existence of a young candidate like Trixie Golden Witch. I control the narrative, the political narrative surrounding my campaign, and I say this is a youth movement that's for the culture. And white people who understand this movement get to be spared in the white apocalypse that everyone knows is coming. But we're going to be on the side of accepting reality as it is. All right. That means that trans women are women. You just have to accept reality as it is. This is my presidential platform. Trixie 2024. We've got this, y'all. We've got this. We'll beat Whitey. Okay, what else questions did I get here? Cheese 2000 says all my stuff is here, but thank you for the offer. What if I used my campaign funds to bring your stuff across country, to America, so that I have to do this in the next year for you to be citizen by 20 if you move here within the next year, you can vote for me to be US president, is what I'm trying to say. We can grease the wheels of this. I will find venture capitalists that are willing to move your shit across country. Do you know how to code? I'm sure we can get you a job up near DC. It's real nice up there. You can move to Alexandria. You can, anyway. Gary always says it's also expensive. Biometrics in that context usually means fingerprinting. Okay. A Tribe Called Quest is fucking amazing. I mean, yeah, they're a classic band. I don't know what made you bring that up, though. Did I say something about A Tribe Called Quest? Cheese 2000 says, I actually know someone in Virginia who would probably marry me for the green card. There you go. You can, what part of Virginia? Up near DC? Up near Alexandria? You got this. I promise. You come here, you get a job up there working for the government, and vote for me. Dilute the white gene pool if you can while you're at it. You don't have to. Just, it helps. Gary always says, just read Fear and Loathing on the campaign trail. You'll learn how to become president. No problem. Actually, let's do that now. Okay. There must be somewhere I can just read this online. Here we go. It is a limited preview, motherfucker. I knew it. You don't have a borrow option. Shit. Do I own this book? I don't think I own this book. I brought some of my Hunter Thompson books with me, but I think I left them in the car. Damn. Well, whatever. I'll read this later in my effort of becoming El Presidente, unless this one works for some reason. Oh, here, this one lets me borrow for an hour. Perfect. I would trust Trixie more than the two candidates. Exactly. I would be a way, way better president than Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I am an eloquent speaker, a good reader. I understand what people are saying to me and can reciprocate with words that they will also understand. I would be a tremendously better candidate than either of the current presidential candidates, but I can't run in this election, but I can run in the next one. And I'm sure they're not going to do any better. I'm sure they're not going to pull better candidates out of their ass next time. And I'll be live every day talking shit about whoever they pick and how much worse they are than me. Don't you worry. But we have no idea. That's 4 whole years away. We don't even know. I cannot imagine either Donald Trump or Joe Biden is still alive in 4 years. It just doesn't seem possible. Like the level of stress, the presidency supposedly ages you 4 times faster than normal. So you got the 2 oldest presidents that ever existed, one after another, and they're both trying to do it again. Even just trying to do it is one of the most stressful things you could be trying to do. I'm willing to put myself through it because I've got so much youth. I've got so much boundless youthful energy that there's no amount of stress. I've already got tons of gray hair. I'm not worried about going gray. I'm excited, actually. This is just low-key my shortcut to getting a nice head of gray hair, all right? But I'll help everybody else in the process by being president, because everybody needs a president. You got to have a president. That's the rules. So I can do it. Just let me do it. If you make me president, I'll be president. All right, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72 by Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. To Sandy, who endured almost a year of grim exile in Washington, D.C. while this book was being written. Between the idea and the reality falls the shadow. T.S. Eliot. All right, let's get past the table of contents here. Author's note. Let's see if I can't make this a little larger. Oh, wait, they have their own little zoom in button. There we go. Dawn is coming up in San Francisco now, 6:09 a.m. I can hear the rumble of early morning buses under my window at the Seal Rock Inn. Out here at the far end of Geary Street, this is the end of the line for buses and everything else, the western edge of America. From my desk, I can see the dark, jagged hump of Seal Rock looming out of the ocean in the gray morning light. About 200 seals have been barking out there most of the night. Staying in this place with the windows open is like living next to a dog pound. Last night, we had a huge paranoid poodle up here in the room, and the dumb bastard went totally out of control when the seal started barking, racing around the room like a chicken hearing a pack of wolves outside the window, howling and whining, leaping up on the bed and scattering my book galley pages all over the floor, knocking the phone off the hook, upsetting the gin bottles, trashing my carefully organized stacks of campaign photographs. Off to the right of this typewriter, on the floor between the beds, I can see an 8x10 print of Frank Mankiewicz yelling into a telephone at the Democratic Convention in Miami. But that one will never be used, because the goddamn hound put 5 big claw holes in the middle of Frank's chest. The line about the dog pound made me think about how when I was when we stayed in Westminster, California, near LA, the hotel we've ended up in is next to a dog pound, so I know exactly what he's talking about. You don't know what part of Virginia they live in, but you think it's near Newport News, which is a very funny place name. Yeah, it's not far from me, actually. Newport News is like a 15-minute drive north. Simp for Gwen says, so I pay $1 and you read 350 words of what other book? Can I choose the book? Yes, absolutely anything. I will read whatever you want. $1 per 350 words. That's it. Yeah. Did Trixie manage to get into HRT again? Oh yeah, I've been doing estrogen for a solid probably 8 or 9 or 10 months, somewhere in that range. I want to say I started last September or something like that. So yeah, I've been taking lots of estrogen since then. Anyway, that dog will not enter this room again. He came in with the book editor, who went away about 6 hours ago with 13 finished chapters, the bloody product of 55 consecutive hours of sleepless, foodless, high-speed editing. But there was no other way to get the thing done. I am not an easy person to work with in terms of deadlines. When I arrived in San Francisco to put this book together, they had a work hole set up for me downtown at the Rolling Stone office. But I have a powerful aversion to working in offices, and when I didn't show up for 3 or 4 days, they decided to do the only logical thing, move the office out here to the Seal Rock Inn. One afternoon, about 3 days ago, they showed up at my door with no warning and loaded about 40 pounds of supplies into the room. 2 cases of Mexican beer, 4 quarts of gin, a dozen grapefruits, and enough speed to alter the outcome of 6 Super Bowls. There was also a big Selectric typewriter, 2 reams of paper, a fake face cord of oak firewood, and 3 tape recorders, in case the situation got so desperate that I might finally have to resort to verbal composition. We came to this point sometime around the 33rd hour, when I developed an insoluble writer's block and began dictating big chunks of the book straight into the microphone, pacing around the room at the end of an 18-foot cord and saying anything that came into my head. When we reached the end of a tape, the editor would jerk it out of the machine and drop it into a satchel, and every 12 hours or so a messenger would stop by to pick up the tape satchel and take it downtown to the office where unknown persons transcribed it into manuscript paper and sent it straight to the printer in Reno. There is a comfortable kind of consistency in this kind of finish because that's the way all the rest of the book was written. From December 71 to January 73, in airport bars, all-night coffee shops, and dreary hotel rooms all over the country. There's hardly a paragraph in this jangled saga that wasn't produced in a last-minute, teeth-grinding frenzy. There was never enough time. Every deadline was a crisis. All around me were experienced professional journalists meeting deadlines far more frequent than mine, but I was never able to learn from their example. Reporters like Bill Grader from the Washington Post and Jim Naughton of the New York Times, for instance, had to file long, detailed, and relatively complex stories every day, while my own deadline fell every 2 weeks. But neither one of them ever seemed in a hurry about getting their work done, and from time to time they would try to console me about the terrible pressure I always seemed to be laboring under. That's fucking funny. Simp for Gwen, I see you have sent $1, but I don't know what it's for. I guess you'll let me know shortly. Any $100 an hour psychiatrist could probably explain this problem to me in 13 or 14 sessions, but I don't have time for that. No doubt it has something to do with a deep-seated personality defect, or maybe a kink in whatever blood vessel leads into the pineal gland. On the other hand, it might easily be something as simple and basically perverse as whatever instinct it is that causes a jackrabbit to wait until the last possible second to dart across the road in front of a speeding car. You'd like me to read my favorite section of House of Leaves? Well, I don't know if I have a favorite section. I have the book on hand, though, so... I'll pick a page. Part of the experience with House of Leaves, though, is the act of reading the book, because, like, a lot of it is like, just formatted in unique fashion, and at times not in a way that you can even just read like straight down, you know? Sometimes it's like a little bit more. There's the tunnel pages were there. It's maybe the most probably the most memorable gimmick in the book is this part where, this part where you're really in the labyrinth and the book really becomes a labyrinth. So I'll attempt to read. This page starts off with footnote number 175, which simply says, see Appendix E. Okay. Let's see Appendix E. Where do I go for Appendix E? I see Appendix Roman numeral 3. Is that before or after Appendix E? Where do I see Appendix? Oh wait, I see some lettered appendixes. Okay. Oh, because this is appendixes within the appendixes as well. So, okay, E, I see D. Is it possible to love something so much you imagine it wants to destroy you only because it has denied you? Yes, absolutely. I would say absolutely. See Appendix B is footnote 176. So I shouldn't have given up my place so easily when I was already in the appendixes. Let's see. Where do I find Appendix B? Well, this is, I mean, is it not overall Appendix B, though? I want appendix inside of Appendix B, right? Okay, hold on. I'll figure this out. I picked the hardest fucking page to read in the whole book. This might be 350 words in and of itself. Who has never killed an hour? Not casually or without thought, but carefully, a premeditated murder of minutes. The violence comes from a combination of giving up, not caring, and a resignation that getting past it is all you can hope to accomplish. So you kill the hour. You do not work, you do not read, you do not daydream. If you sleep, it is not because you need to sleep. And when at last it is over, there is no evidence, no weapon, no blood, and no body. The only clue might be the shadows beneath your eyes or a terribly thin line near the corner of your mouth, indicating something has been suffered, that in the privacy of your life you have lost something and the loss is too empty to share. I feel that. I kill an hour all the time, exactly as described in that book. All right, so then the next, okay, so what, this is what we're doing right now, right? Like I open the page and these are footnotes to some other page, but they're sending me to appendixes. So I just read those two appendixes, but now we've got this crossed out red line that says, for instance, youth's peripatetic travails in the PXXXXXXXXX poems, a perfect example why errors should be hastily excised. Is that a real thing? The PXXXXXX poems. Oh, it's it's okay. Yeah, the Pelican poems are that's just censored the Pelican poems, which the Pelican poems are in the back of the book. For instance, youth peripatetic trails in the Pelican poems, a perfect example of why errors should be hastily excised. And then that itself, that one ends with its own send away to 178, but 178 is luckily the very next line. 178, i.e. the Pelican poems, which then goes to 179. 179 then says see appendix 2b, and that's signed the editor. So that would assumably be the editor of this book. So that person understands how complicated the system of appendixes is. Okay, so not exhibits. I want appendixes. Okay, appendix. I want appendix 2b. Is this 2b? Bits? Is it bits? Well, that would be the whole section we were just in. Fuck. How do I read this fucking book? Okay, well, okay, no, it's the Pelican Poems RB. Our section, okay. Appendix 2B is, in fact, the Pelican Poems. So that was basically like 4 different lines telling me to read the Pelican Poems. But there's so many of the Pelican Poems. The Pelican Poems are the hardest part of this book. They are the most like, what the fuck am I reading part of this book? Okay, let's read the first one. A palimpsest of austere pelican Jake. Prospero dreams, twixt green sea and azured vault, setting war, while the corner clock ticks in the evening den. Charlotte, Charlotte, the moments here are short and I am mad. Mutinous waves usurp the land. Dear God, here? and raising a sun-struck hand, yes, here, again. For Claudia, New Haven, May 26, 1988. Okay. What the fuck is this fucking book? But all of that meant something to me. So ultimately I'm like, yeah, okay, this holds up. This bangs. You can literally open this to any random page and be sent on a little House of Leaves adventure and have a good time. All right. Until I get another request. Oh, I just did. The Luppy Jackal. You wouldn't mind reading a short story of mine that's becoming a novel, would you? I would not mind. As long as it's what's 5 times 350 words? $1,750 words. If you're trying to link it to me, though, you're gonna have to do it either on Twitter. It's about 1,000. Okay, perfect. Either link it to me through Twitter or through Discord if you're in the We Watch Anime Discord, because you cannot put links in the YouTube chat. But you could put it in the We Make Art channel of the We Watch Anime Discord if you want. The link to the Discord is on the We Watch Anime channel's About page. I know it's a little complicated to get to, but that's to keep the idiots out. All right. I don't know what technique you're going to use to get that to me, but I'll keep reading this Fear and Loathing page for a bit. Where was I, though? Oh, yeah. People who claim to know jackrabbits will tell you they are primarily motivated by fear, stupidity, and craziness. But I have spent enough time in jackrabbit country to know that most of them lead pretty dull lives. They're bored with their daily routines, eat, feek, sleep, hop around a bush now and then. No wonder some of them drift over the line into cheap thrills once in a while. There has to be a powerful adrenaline rush in crouching by the side of a road, waiting for the next set of headlights to come along, then streaking out of the bushes with split-second timing and making it across to the other side just inches in front of the speeding front wheels. Why not? Anything that gets the adrenaline moving, like a 440-volt blast in a copper bathtub, is good for the reflexes and keeps the veins free of cholesterol. But too many adrenaline rushes at any given time span has the same bad effect on the nervous system as too many electroshock treatments are said to have on the brain. After a while, you start burning out the circuits. Marrying with $10 R10, the equivalent to $1.79. Look up Terabes Stephen Mitchell. Okay, I'll look that up. We'll knock this one out real quick while we're waiting on the link to that other story. My Twitter handle is Golden Witch Fire, by the way. I didn't realize you had asked. Sorry, I missed that. Golden Witch Fire. Fire. Also, everything is in my link tree in the description. All of my social links, all of my everything. Everything I've ever done that is that I've remembered is linked there. Stephen Mitchell Tao Te Ching. Okay. Is this what I'm looking for? Oh. Is it this whole thing or? Well, this is very long. I assume you did not mean this entire thing. How far does $1.79 go into this? Whatever. I'll read some of them. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. I'm pretty sure I've read this before. I know I've read this part. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise, and she lets them come. Things disappear, and she lets them go. She has, but doesn't possess. Acts, but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. Yeah, this is that good shit. It's that shit that makes you go, ooh, I'm going to be like that. All cool and shit. Like that said, I'm going to be that master they're talking about. Ugh. Gary, always, you said you sent me a 5-page Hunter Thompson thing on Gmail. Okay. Mail. This is the wrong email. There we go. Okay. Hunter Thompson on Richard Nixon. He was a crook. Yeah, sounds right. Sounds like Hunter Thompson on Richard Nixon. Okay, wait, hold on. Did I get that link though yet? I do not yet have the link to the Loopy Jackals story yet. I guess you could also email it to me, Golden Witch Fire, since that's what Gary always did. I considered it. All right, memo from the National Affairs Desk, date May the 1st, 1994, from Dr. Hunter S. Thompson, subject, the death of Richard Nixon, notes on the passing of an American monster. He was a liar and a quitter, and he should never have been buried at sea, or he should have been buried at sea, sorry, but he was, after all, the president. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, it has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Revelation 18:2. Or another way of saying that, she's a dwelling place for demons. She's a cage for every unclean spirit, every hateful bird, and makes us drink the poison wine to fornicating with our kings. They were really on a Hunter Thompson bender when they made that fucking album, weren't they? Richard Nixon is gone now, and I am poorer for it. He was the real thing, a political monster straight out of a Grendel and a very dangerous enemy. He could shake your hand and stab you in the back at the same time. He lied to his friends and betrayed the trust of his family. Not even Gerald Ford, the unhappy ex-president who pardoned Nixon and kept him out of prison, was immune to the evil fallout. Ford, who believes strongly in heaven and hell, has told more than one of his celebrity golf partners that, I know I will go to hell because I pardoned Richard Nixon. I have had my own bloody relationship with Nixon for many years, but I am not worried about it landing me in hell with him. I have already been there with that bastard, and I am a better person for it. Nixon had the unique ability to make his enemies seem honorable, and we developed a keen sense of fraternity. Some of my best friends have hated Nixon all their lives. My mother hates Nixon, my son hates Nixon, I hate Nixon, and this hatred has brought us together. Nixon laughed when I told him this. Don't worry, he said. I, too, am a family man, and we feel the same way about you. It was Richard Nixon who got me into politics, and now that he's gone, I feel lonely. He was a giant in his way. As long as Nixon was politically alive, and he was all the way to the end, we could always be sure of finding the enemy on the low road. There was no need to look anywhere else for this evil bastard. He had the fighting instincts of a badger trapped by hounds. The badger will roll over on its back and emit a smell of death, which confuses the dogs and lures them in for the traditional ripping and tearing action. But it is usually the badger who does the ripping and tearing. It is a beast that fights best on its back, rolling under the throat of the enemy and seizing it by the head with all four claws. That was Nixon's style, and if you forgot, he would kill you as a lesson to the others. Badgers don't fight fair, Bubba. That's why God made Dachshunds. Nixon was a Navy man, and he should have been buried at sea. Many of his friends were seagoing people. Bebe Rebozo, Robert Vesco, William F. Buckley Jr., and some of them wanted a full naval burial. These come in at least two styles, however, and Nixon's immediate family strongly opposed both of them. In the traditionalist style, the dead president's body would be wrapped and sewn loosely in canvas sailcloth and dumped off the stern of a frigate at least 100 miles off the coast and at least 1,000 miles south of San Diego, so the corpse could never wash up on American soil in any recognizable form. The family opted for cremation until they were advised of the potentially onerous implications of a strictly private, unwitnessed burning of the body of the man who was, after all, President of the United States. Awkward questions might be raised, dark allusions to Hitler and Rasputin. People would be filing lawsuits to get their hands on the dental charts. Long court battles would be inevitable, some with liberal cranks bitching about corpus delicti and habeas corpus, and others with giant insurance companies trying not to pay off on this tax death benefits. Either way, an orgy of greed and duplicity was sure to follow any public hint that Nixon might have somehow faked his own death or been cryogenically transferred to fascist Chinese interests on the Central Asian mainland. It would also play into the hands of those millions of self-stigmatized patriots like me who believe these things already. If the right people had been in charge of Nixon's funeral, his casket would have been launched into one of those open sewage canals that empty into the ocean just south of Los Angeles. He was a swine of a man and a jabbering dupe of a president. Nixon was so crooked that he needed servants to help him screw his pants on every morning. Even his funeral was illegal. He was queer in the deepest way. His body should have been burned in a trash bin. These are harsh words for a man only recently canonized by President Clinton and my old friend George McGovern. But I have written worse things about Nixon many times, and the record will show that I kicked him repeatedly long before he went down. I beat him like a mad dog with mange every time I got a chance, and I am proud of it. He was scum. Let there be no mistake in the history books about that. Richard Nixon was an evil man, evil in a way that only those who believe in the physical reality of the devil can understand it. He was utterly without ethics or morals or any bedrock sense of decency. Nobody trusted him, except maybe the Stalinist Chinese, and honest historians will remember him mainly as a rat who kept scrambling to get back on the ship. It is fitting that Richard Nixon's final gesture to the American people was a clearly illegal series of 2,105mm howitzer blasts that shattered the peace of a residential neighborhood and permanently disturbed many children. Neighbors also complained about another unsanctioned burial in the yard at the old Nixon place, which was brazenly illegal. It makes the whole neighborhood like a graveyard, said one, and it fucks up my children's sense of values. Many were incensed about the howitzers, but they knew there was nothing they could do about it, not with the current president sitting about 50 yards away and laughing at the roar of the cannons. It was Nixon's last war, and he won. The funeral was a dreary affair, finely staged for TV and shrewdly dominated by ambitious politicians and revisionist historians. The Reverend Billy Graham, still agile and eloquent at the age of 136, was billed as the main speaker, but he was quickly upstaged by 1996 GOP presidential candidates Senator Bob Dole of Kansas and Governor Pete Wilson of California, who formerly hosted the event and saw his poll numbers crippled when he got blown off stage by Dole, who somehow seized the number 3 slot on the roster and uttered such a shameless, self-serving eulogy that even he burst into tears at the end of it. Dole's stock went up like a rocket, and it cast him as the early GOP frontrunner for 96. That obviously didn't work out. Wilson speaking next sounded like an Engelbert Humperdinck impersonator and probably won't even be reelected as governor of California in November. The historians were strongly represented by the number 2 speaker, Henry Kissinger, Nixon's Secretary of State, and himself a zealous revisionist with many axes to grind. This motherfucker is still around. Right? Kissinger, is he still around? I don't want to look into this. Nixon's Secretary of State and himself a zealous revisionist of many axes to grind. He set the tone for the day with a maudlin and spectacularly self-serving portrait of Nixon as even more saintly than his mother, and as a president of many godlike accomplishments, many of them put together in secret by Kissinger, who came to California as part of a huge publicity tour for his new book on diplomacy, Genius, Stalin, H.P. Lovecraft, and other great minds of our time, including himself and Richard Nixon. Kissinger was only one of the many historians who suddenly came to see Nixon as more than the sum of his many squalid parts. He seemed to be saying that history will not have to absolve Nixon because he has already done it himself in a massive act of will and crazed arrogance that already ranks him supreme, along with other Nietzschean supermen like Hitler, Jesus, Bismarck, and the Emperor Hirohito. These revisionists have catapulted Nixon to the status of an American Caesar, claiming that when the definitive history of the 20th century is written, no other president will come close to Nixon in stature. He will dwarf FDR and Truman, according to one scholar from Duke University. Kissinger died in November at 100 years old. Fucking Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Thank God Trump and Biden seem to be in such worse health than that. Fucking Dick Cheney's probably gonna live to be a billion. That motherfucker must eat children. Some people will say that words like scum and rotten are wrong for objective journalism. Wait, did I skip a... No, I skipped a paragraph here. It was all gibberish, of course. Nixon was no more a saint than he was a great president. He was more like Sammy Glick than Winston Churchill. He was a cheap crook and a merciless war criminal who bombed more people to death in Laos and Cambodia than the U.S. Army lost in all of World War II, and he denied it to the day of his death. When students at Kent State University in Ohio protested the bombing, he connived to have them attacked and slain by troops from the National Guard. Some people will say that words like scum and rotten are wrong for objective journalism, which is true, but they missed the point. It was the built-in blind spots of the objective rules and dogma that allowed Nixon to slither into the White House in the first place. He looked so good on paper that you could almost vote for him sight unseen. He seemed so all-American, so much like Horatio Alger, that he was able to slip through the cracks of objective journalism. You had to get subjective to see Nixon clearly, and the shock of recognition was often painful. Nixon's meteoric rise from the unemployment line to the vice presidency in 6 quick years would never have happened if TV had come along 10 years earlier. He got away with his sleazy My Dog Checkers speech in 1952 because most voters heard it on the radio or read about it in the headlines of their local Republican newspapers. When Nixon finally had to face the TV cameras for real in the 1960 presidential campaign debates, he got whipped like a red-headed mule. Even diehard Republican voters were shocked by his cruel and incompetent persona. Imagine if that was something people considered a negative today. Interestingly, most people who heard these debates on the radio thought Nixon had won, but the mushrooming TV audience saw him as a ruthless used car salesman, and they voted accordingly. It was the first time in 14 years that Nixon lost an election. When he arrived in the White House as vice president at the age of 40, he was a smart young man on the rise, a hubris-crazed monster from the bowels of the American dream with a heart full of hate and an overweening lust to be president. Hey, I can do all that. He had won every office he'd run for and stomped like a Nazi on all of his enemies and even some of his friends. That part I'll avoid. Nixon had no friends except George Will and J. Edgar Hoover, and they both deserted him. It was Hoover's shameless death in 1972 that led directly to Nixon's downfall. He felt helpless and alone with Hoover gone. He no longer had access to either the director or the director's ghastly bank of personal files on almost everybody in Washington. Hoover was Nixon's right flank, and when he croaked, Nixon knew how Lee felt when Stonewall Jackson got killed at Chancellorsville. It permanently exposed Lee's flank and led to the disaster at Gettysburg. For Nixon, the loss of Hoover led inevitably to the disaster of Watergate. It meant hiring a new director who turned out to be an unfortunate toady named L. Patrick Gray, who squealed like a pig in hot oil the first time Nixon leaned on him. Gray panicked and fingered White House counsel John Dean, who refused to take the rap and rolled over instead on Nixon, who was trapped like a rat by Dean's relentless, vengeful testimony and went all to pieces right in front of our eyes on TV. That is Watergate in a nut for people with seriously diminished attention spans. The real story is a lot longer and reads like a textbook on human treachery. They were all scum, but only Nixon walked free and lived to clear his name. Or at least that's what Bill Clinton says, and he is, after all, the President of the United States. Nixon liked to remind people of that. He believed it, and that was why he went down. He was not only a crook, but a fool. 2 years after he quit, he told a TV journalist that if the president does it, it can't be illegal. What the fuck? Shit, not even Spiro Agnew was that dumb. He was a flat-out knee-crawling thug with the morals of a weasel on speed, but he was Nixon's vice president for 5 years, and he was only resigned when he was caught red-handed taking cash bribes across his desk in the White House. Unlike Nixon, Agnew didn't argue. He quit his job and flew in the night to Baltimore, where he appeared the next morning in U.S. District Court, which allowed him to stay out of prison for bribery and extortion in exchange for a guilty no-contest plea on income tax evasion. After that, he became a major celebrity and played golf and tried to get a Coors distributorship. He never spoke to Nixon again and was an unwelcome guest at the funeral. They called him rude, but he went anyway. It was one of those biological imperatives, like salmon swimming up waterfalls to spawn before they die. He knew he was scum, but it didn't bother him. Agnew was the Joey Buttafuoco of the Nixon administration, and Hoover was his Caligula. They were brutal, brain-damaged degenerates worse than any hitman out of The Godfather, yet they were the men Richard Nixon trusted most. Together, they defined his presidency. It would be easy to forget and forgive Henry Kissinger of his crimes, just as he forgave Nixon. Yes, we could do that, but it would be wrong. Kissinger is a slippery little devil, a world-class hustler with a thick German accent and a very keen eye for weak spots at the top of the power structure. Nixon was one of those, and Super K exploited him mercilessly all the way down to the end. Kissinger made the Gang of Four complete: Agnew, Hoover, Kissinger, and Nixon. A group photo of these perverts would say all we need to know about the age of Nixon. Nixon's spirit will be with us for the rest of our lives. Whether you're me or Bill Clinton or you're Kurt Cobain or Bishop Tutu or Keith Richards or Amy Fisher or Boris Yeltsin's daughter or your fiance's 16-year-old beer-drunk brother with his braided goatee and his whole life like a thundercloud out in front of him. This is not a generational thing. You don't even have to know who Richard Nixon was to be a victim of his ugly Nazi spirit. He has poisoned our water forever. Nixon will be remembered as a classic case of a smart man shitting in his own nest, but he also shit in our nests, and that was the crime that history will burn on his memory like a brand. By disgracing and degrading the presidency of the United States, by fleeing the White House like a diseased cur, Richard Nixon broke the heart of the American dream. He really did it. He really was the worst guy. What a fucking dude. Okay. Ming says, read more of the Tao Te Ching from chapter 4 on. R50 is about $9. Just look up Terabest Stephen Mitchell, and it's the first link. This one, right? Still this one, right? We still have it open. It says, seems to say all of those words. Yeah, translated by Stephen Mitchell. Yeah, this is correct. Okay. Do some more of this. Was there another one before this? No, Gary Always, Ming. All right, the Lumpy Jackal. Did we get that link? Doesn't seem like on Twitter. Lumpy Jackal, did you send me that link to your story yet? And if so, where? You sent it on Twitter. You don't want to say your handle, but it has a bunny and Alice in it. You don't want to say your handle. Did you send it in my messages or? It's not. Oh, there we go. Finally. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Okay. So we'll get to that other thing momentarily. Okay, cool. The elder's side. This is simple. Why do we even debate the matter? She's hair on her tail stands on end, and already a few hollers cut through the dark, as they all knew how to resolve this in a manner that would satisfy everyone. Let us take her to the forest of mothers for judgment. Impressible cries, something less than singing but more bestial than the shadow of reality we call language, was let out in near unison, some in rage, some in delight, some in ecstasy. What does that mean? In reply, she shrugs and can explain it like they would and can only explain it like they would to a child what a rainbow looks like when they have never seen color. The forest of mothers will consume you or you will live. Come, Andy. It's not far from here. It's a strange impromptu procession, an execution, a party, and a celebration of life all in a circle, chanting, singing, letting out guttural noises as they forced the alien to their god's judgment. Andy could only take the warning literally and assumed they would be put in front of one of those creepy animals, maybe one with overgrown teeth or one that looks like an overgrown bug, and it would decide if Andy made a tasty snack or not. They arrive in a spot that has what looks to be a solid wall of red flowers with gorgeous little gold pistils that twinkle even in the low lighting. Andy glanced in either direction and saw the solid red wall simply fade into eventual black. The wisteria grows in a full circle here. There's a full rotation of wisteria that bloom for each season. Geists, once they enter this circle, can't leave. All geists eventually live here. Okay, so I'm about to be eaten by something. Okay, so I'm about to be eaten by something called a geist. Believe in the mercy of the Great Mother, and you will live yet, Andy. Somehow I doubt that. And that's what may kill you. She lets out a laugh that could curdle milk and jumps it up and down, evidently quite excited as well to see Andy potentially eaten. Once the alien enters the forest of mothers, my name is Andy, they may not be allowed to leave until dawn breaks or they will die. None may assist them in leaving when the dawn breaks. Do you understand, Andy? Stay in the flowers until dawn or I die. Do you understand, she? I never doubt the judgment of the Great Mother, only the wisdom of her servants, including myself. There was a clear downward curl to the elders' lips at this retort, but they said nothing. There was a pause in the singing, the dancing, the talking, and an unexpected turn towards Andy. I mean, geez, I get nervous when people watch. No one laughed. Andy took a breath and stepped into the wisteria, and the flowers melted away for them, brushing aside so gingerly and snapping back so violently the moment they were past them. They took another step, then another, then looked back and saw the wall of flowers seems gone. They tried walking back right where they just came from, not to try to escape. They weren't that foolish, but only to hug the wall of flowers until dawn. Yet try as they might, walking back right just from where they were only met with a series of trees and various foliage. Frustrated to be lost already, Andy submitted to their fate and sat on the ground leaning against a tree. I wonder if it's something really creepy looking. I read way back on Earth there was a frog that would carry its baby froggies in holes in their back. Freaked me out when I saw a picture and someone told me it was a real thing back on Earth. So far, however, there was nothing. Wait, there was something. A moth. One faintly glowing opalescent light. Then another, and another here. Tiny little glittering rainbows floating like prisms that were repeatedly catching light from a mysterious source. Andy was too flummoxed to be afraid in general right now, and in the sudden peace and quiet that they haven't had in a while, they're taken away by the beauty of those amazing little creatures. Those moths, I have to note real quick, just a general editing concern about this story is there's a lot of changes in tense and perspective. So like Andy was too flummoxed to be afraid in general right now. And in the sudden peace and quiet that they haven't had in a while, that it would have to be that they hadn't had in a while because he was, so hadn't, like we're staying in past tense. But this brings us into present tense if you say haven't. In the sudden peace and quiet that they hadn't had in a while, they were, because there implies they are. So you would want they were taken away by the beauty, and I think you mean taken aback by the beauty of these amazing little creatures. And also just the fact that it goes from, it's Andy at first, and then you start saying they. I don't know if that means Andy is pronouns. Are they, or if you're referring to both characters at once. I assume you're talking about that Andy's pronouns are they, based on the way the sentence is structured. That wasn't my first thought. Those moths are so beautiful. They don't know what is compelling them to latch onto them. They're candles in the dark, and we humans are so terribly afraid of the dark, aren't we? The dark is the physical embodiment of the unknown, and we humans just hate to not know, don't we? Now I'm not sure. This part I'm confused about whether you, the author, are speaking to me, or is this what the character's thinking? Because down here you've got like, this is the character thinking. So this kind of just feels like you are suddenly speaking to me. To not know could mean danger, and heaven forbid should I have to experience that most terrible and ancient fear that I am not master of my domain. Okay, that now makes me think it is them thinking. That there exists something beyond our grasp. Perhaps the best thing we can do for ourselves is to accept that and let go. A whisper faint stirs all about them. Andy does a sort of jerking look up, scrambles to their feet. Okay, it definitely seems like Andy is they, them pronouns. It sounds like chanting is coming from just beyond the wall of flowers. What, are they summoning it, like Cthulhu? The noise continues, faint but rising, slowly, steadily, surely as a heartbeat. The whispers were getting louder and curiously more distinct. Individual voices, a soft one here, a gruff one there, a word slipping through the grapevine, a turn of phrase caught muttered and rounding the corner. Andy's breath start to shorten and quicken. They clutched their heart and kneeled back down to the black earth. What is this? A voice, one more absurd and the most alien one yet, was catching in her ear, hooking her. Okay, now it's her pronouns. Or is this the other character? Then another dragged her consciousness down an unknown path, one of flight, swift dives, prey barfed back up to baby chicks. Andy clutches at her throat, trying to breathe, wondering where all the water went. She can't breathe without water. What's happening is all she can scream, for the second she's herself again before she's writhing about on the floor, a mouse repeatedly batted by a cat for fun. Now she's the cat that bats the mouse, highly amused by the spectacle. She's a grandfather to a child. It's everything. Everything is here, everything that was alive, and she suspects even some things that will be alive are here in the Great Mother. I am the deer I killed in a fun hunt. I am the snake that writhes as the soil is poisoned by pesticides. I am the moth that flew into the flame of the candle I hadn't needed. I am the moon and the morning star. Andy is on the forest floor, laid out, her mouth foaming, her face slightly purple. It's like drowning, and she can only tread water enough to breathe when she finds a piece of herself that she cannot attach to some suffering or misery she caused, whether to another creature as innocent as a worm or to herself. She keeps trying to draw, to claw at her throat, as though another hole might improve her breathing situation. Please, I'm sorry, just kill me. Please just kill me, is what she tries to yell and beg the next moment of consciousness she has before she sees Mother scolding her for breaking a plate. Now they're a deep sea creature, used to keeping shape under literal tons of pressure, being forced to survive at sea level. She lets out coughs filled with blood. Stop! And they drown in the torrent of voices experience, all dancing in a circle pointedly inward at the Great Mother. It was so terribly hard to look at. It's not just looking at the sun. It's looking at the sun when you're standing on the surface of it. Dawn breaking was not like any dawn they'd had in their life. They saw astrological twilight as bugs that can see those sun rays long before they reach warm-blooded eyes. Nautical twilight seared their eyes as a creature that spent all of its days deep, deep in the dirt, only vaguely knowing the difference between day and night by temperature. Dawn. Wisteria. They find themselves a bird wanting to peck into the soil for worms. I am Andy. They felt a hefty wave of nausea, let out spittles worth of bile, then crawled. They didn't know which way was which. So this was... You wrote this Manic at 3 a.m. It hasn't been through editing. Okay, so it is... They are both the pronouns for the same character. I thought for a second there that might have been like... Maybe you were doing something deliberate with the character only being called she during that sequence. Because it's they at all other contexts, and then she just while speaking to the All-Mother. That could have been something you did intentionally and forgot about it if you wrote this Manic at 3 a.m. I totally would understand. They only knew that the wall of flowers couldn't extend forever, and they would eventually leave this cursed place, for they are in all things, past and present. At one point in crawling, they were a creature in between, having half a wing that let them glide but not fly, and it would be so nice to be a creature that could fly. They crawled and crawled, many times becoming things that couldn't crawl, didn't know how to crawl, and that wouldn't want to crawl. The shock of being yourself entirely again is like being plunged into ice water after being in a sauna. They were both hyperventilating and hypoventilating. To be alone in your skull again, to know you were human flesh, you drank and wrote poems. She continues to claw at her throat, the breath's not coming naturally. She kept expecting to need water. Okay, no, now we're back on she pronouns. To need water to breathe or wonder why the air is so thick. Congratulations, Andy. Most people had given up hope for you. She is drinking from a rain nut and looking almost bored. Given up? Andy coughs, pukes more bile. I started crawling as soon as dawn hit. Did you now? You still must have been nearly lost if it took till noon until get back to Wisteria. Very few who haven't come out by noon come out at all. Water, please. She graciously hands out the rain nut, then cracks open another. I, on the other hand, never doubted. No one the Great Mother decorates in glow moths could possibly lose themselves in the forest of mothers. Andy took heavy slurps from the viscous and extremely refreshing rain nut. I kept holding on to myself. Fool, you think that's what let you live? You think you're alone in having a self? She clicks her tongue, drinks, clicks her tongue again. It's a wonder you did escape when your first words about the experience are arrogant and self-centered. It's like you learned nothing there. Still, no one can deny that the forest of mothers did not consume you, so you must lack ego somewhere. Are you satisfied, elder? Andy looked up, and there was a handful of other villagers around, a few young and middle-aged and one elder, all looking a bit surprised the alien made it out. The elder clicks their tongue now. We do not question the Great Mother's judgment, is what they slowly, sourly, clearly wishing this is not the case. Said. I think you forgot the word said there. Yeah, that was neat. That was fun. I like that you took a sort of a cliche scene from a like, you know, isekai story and just kind of did this one scene, but took it to like the furthest extent of like, all right, I'm gonna do the ayahuasca trip, you know, but like I'm gonna really write out what happens when you do the ego death and realize you're all things. It's very much like literally an ayahuasca trip. You know, it reminded me of Amy's story a little bit. I know, Amy, you didn't hear all of this because you just got here, but it was a similar sort of tribal ritual situation where a isekai character has to participate in this ritual that will make them like a, you know, naturalized part of their community. But in this case, it's more focused on the druggy ego death experience. That was the most entertaining part for me. You know, I think you did a good job of the trippy stuff. It felt like vaguely symbolic without quite saying any one thing in particular other than, you know, the broad messages, but like the specifics of what was being talked about was interesting, especially the part where they're like I'm sorry, because like all they can remember is all the times they killed something, you know, like experiencing all the deaths that they themselves had caused. Kind of like Metal Gear Solid 3. That was fun. All right. I asked ChatGPT to calculate it, and I need to read the Tao Te Ting until chapter 33. Okay. So from 4 to 33. The Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. Oh, hey, it's the Great Mother. Wait, are these requests related in any way? Mering and the Luppy Jackal, did either one of you know that this was going to be happening here? That we were going to double up on some great mothers? Is your story inspired by Taoism in the first place? The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. Mering, you no idea what I'm talking about. I just read a story that had a Great Mother in it. So Like just now, the last thing we just read, they spoke to the Great Mother. They did not doubt the wisdom of the Great Mother. Great Mother gave them like an acid trip. It was called the Great Mother, right? I'm not tripping here, right? That was the same name. I know this is Maringue. I know what this is. I was asking if you asked for this because of some kind of coordinated effort with that other person. I understand it's such a coincidence that it's hard to conceive of because you're like, well, what are you fucking talking about? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it just happened. It is incredible coincidence. The Tao is speaking to me. Yes, thank you, Centipede's anime stuff. The Tao states that for somethingness to be, there must be nothingness. I quote. That's a quote from the start of one of me songs. Anyway. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself, thus it is present for all beings. The master stays behind. That is why she is ahead. She is detached from all things. That is why she is one with them. Because she has to let go of herself. She is perfectly fulfilled. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. These are all good advice. This is like good. I didn't realize how much life advice was in the Tao. I've only really read the starting stuff that's about like all the, nothingness shit. Fill your bowl to the brim and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife and it will be blunt. Chase after money and security and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. It's true. I'm all of your prisoner. Or are you my prisoner? I can't tell. Who's the predator? Who's the prey? Anyway. Do your work, then step back, the only path to serenity. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? No. Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Maybe. We'll find out when I'm president. Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. All right, y'all. I understand the supreme virtue now, which means I'm going to be an awesome U.S. president. President. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Whoosh! That one kind of blew my mind a little bit. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Words are non-being. They don't exist. I mean, the sounds exist. We work with the sounds, but the sounds don't have meaning. The meaning is the non-being part. Yes. Oh, I found a way to make language fit into it. Taoism's cool. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. Hey, the master got a gender swap in between some of these. I guess there's boy and girl masters out there. Mastery isn't gendered. Success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. See, this is why like people will be like, you need Christianity to have morality. No, dude, Taoism's right here. This is all of this. This is all the answers with none of the fucking bullshit. All of this stuff is true. None of this is fucking bullshit. This is all true things. There's not a bunch of fucking stories in here about nothing and nonsense. It's just truisms. You can live your whole life and have a morally righteous existence on the basis of mere truisms. Look and it can't be seen. Listen and it can't be heard. Reach and it can't be grasped. Above it isn't bright. Below it isn't dark. Seamless, unnameable, it returns to the realm of nothing. Form that includes all forms. Image without an image. Subtle beyond all conception. Approach it and there is no beginning. Follow it and there is no end. You can't know it, but you can be it at ease in your own life. Just realize where you came from. This is the essence of wisdom. Come from, I should say, not came from. Because you're doing it all the time. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. That's why I try to be live all the time. You know, I want to be present and welcome to all things. Y'all bring me all kinds of shit. I never understand. I'm never predicting what's going to pop up in front of me on these streams. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm the master, y'all. That's why I should be the U.S. president. My absolute mastery of Taoism. It makes sense. Who else is... Y'all aren't going to know how to deal with the Chinese. I will. I know the religion. I understand it. I can speak Tao. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Think about people's death is what I'm getting out of this. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you, and when death comes, you are ready. I'm feeling it. When the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. Y'all hear that? Y'all barely gonna know that I'm around when I'm president. You're not gonna have to hear my name 700 times a day. I'll be on the fucking down low. You'll hear about me because you're looking up what's the president doing. Not because it's being shoved down your fucking throat every day. Most people don't need to know and don't give a shit anyways. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. See, you're hardly going to know I'm going to exist. You're going to love me. And you're going to fear fucking with me too. Because you know I will write a diss track about you that will ruin your life. So you will definitely fear me on the low key. The worst is one who is despised. No one's going to despise me. I'm so cool. So chill. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. I trust everybody. I know exactly what y'all are like. I know what you're going to do. You did it. Good job. The master doesn't talk, he acts. Yeah, everything I do is acting if it's in front of a camera, so that makes sense. When his work is done, the people say, "Amazing, we did it all by ourselves." You did it, gang. Good job. When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. Y'all know the U.S. is in chaos right now. The best patriotism you could possibly show is to back me. I believe in America more than anybody else has ever believed in America. I'm the most American person that's ever existed. I'm more American than Hunter Thompson. All right? Because I won't kill myself. It's way more American to live indignantly as long as possible than it is to shoot yourself. So I'm going to be the greatest American of all time by indignantly living as long as possible. Throw away holiness and wisdom, and people will be 100 times happier. Throw away morality and justice, and people will do the right thing. Throw away industry and profit, and there won't be any thieves. If these three aren't enough, just stay at the center of the circle and let all things take their course. Eye in a hurricane. Listen to yourself churn. World serves its own needs. Dummy serve your own needs. Speed it up a notch. Speed. Front row. Clink. The ladder starts to clatter with the fear of fight. If I become when I become U.S. president, I will make sure I learn all of the words to "It's the End of the World as We Know It" by REM and the Fall Out Boy cover, just to be sure that I know multiple generations worth of issues. You know, I need to know Metroid. I already do know Metroid, so I'm ahead of the curve. Stop thinking and end your problems. All right, I got to bring my problems back so I can keep doing this live stream. What difference between yes and no? What difference indeed? What difference between success and failure? Must you value what others value, avoid what others avoid? How ridiculous. Kudaranai. Other people are excited as though they were at a parade. I alone don't care. I alone am expressionless, like an infant before it can smile. Other people have what they need. I alone possess nothing. I alone drift about like someone without a home. I am like an idiot. My mind is so empty. You hear that? I'm like an idiot. My mind is so empty. I know y'all love electing idiots in the United States. Y'all got me. Other people are bright. I alone am dark. Other people are sharper. I alone am dull. Other people have a purpose. I alone don't know. I drift like a wave on the ocean. I blow as aimless as the wind. Oh, I certainly do blow. I am different from ordinary people. I drink from the great mother's breasts. Wow, this got a lot more self-important all of a sudden, I feel like. It feels like a level of being above it that is almost bordering on being below it. You know what I mean? Like it's almost too far. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. I am the golden witch, so I must be pretty radiant. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. It almost reads like setups and punchlines, right? Like, the Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. And then everybody's like, ooh, damn, you know, like that's the way it feels. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. It's all in there. Like when that episode of Kirby where they go inside of Kirby and it's like a whole universe inside of Kirby, but all the food that Kirby's ever eaten is floating around. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. Hey. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. I've been there. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself. This is definitely the part where it's like, I agree with all of it, but I also know how easy this is. Like, this is the part where, as like a Western thinker, you're like, no, I'm not giving everything up. Fuck you. I like my things. Actually, this is what makes me happy. Actually, you know what? Fuck you. I understand this is why, in order for me to be US president, I have to draw the line somewhere. Like, there has to be something I'm not willing to give up. Like, for instance, the concept of the United States. In order to be U.S. president, because you can't be the U.S. president with no United States. That just doesn't make any sense. So, the worst thing about me being U.S. president is that I will be U.S. president. But that's always a negative. Every U.S. president has that problem. So I will not be any worse than any other U.S. president by having the problem of being the U.S. president. But in order to be the U.S. president, I must reject the Tao on some level. Because the Tao says you can't have a country. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to be president, though. So, got to reject the Tao a little bit. Just a little bit. Any American would do it. Any real American would dodge the Tao a little. Just a little Tao dodging. Just a tiny bit of Tao dodging. All right. Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. He who stands on tiptoe doesn't stand firm. He who rushes ahead doesn't go far. He who tries to shine dims his own light. He who defines himself cannot know who he really is. I agree with that. This is one that a lot more people need to know. This is one that more people need to realize. The second you start calling yourself something like straight, you've really fucked up. He who has power over others can't empower himself. He who clings to his work will create nothing that endures. If you want to accord with the Tao, just do your job, then let go. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. It flows through all things, inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. This is like getting to episode 6 of Shimoon when they're like finally just explaining what the fuck they've been talking about the whole show. Like, by the way, here's what the Tao is. This thing I've been mentioning, like specifically what the Tao is. Like, I know I've been implying that this is what the Tao is, but this is like literally what it flows through all things, inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. The Tao is great. The universe is great. Earth is great. Man is great. Hell yeah. U.S. America is great, right? United States, let's go. U.S. President Trixie. These are the 4 great powers. Man follows the earth. Earth follows the universe. The universe follows the Tao. The Tao follows only itself. The heavy is the root of the light. The unmoved is the source of all movement. Thus the master travels all day without leaving home. However splendid the views, she stays serenely in herself. And this is the excuse I used to be a NEET for fucking 10 years. Why should the lord of the country flit about like a fool? If you let yourself be blown to and fro, you lose touch with your root. If you let restlessness move you, you lose touch with who you are. Interesting. This is interesting. This is a problem I have in my life, is letting restlessness move me and then losing touch with who I am. So that's why I've been trying to craft such a specific identity through these streams. Like, I'm very careful about, like, if this is what I'm going to be doing, if I have to do the same thing every day, I have to really enjoy it. It has to be stuff that, like, every time I do it, I'm like, you know what? I got a real kick out of that. You know, that's why, like, we can't just watch random anime or new anime or popular anime. It has to be like anime that I am specifically excited about watching with you. You know, I like reading stuff because everybody always has cool taste in what they want me to read, or it's their own work and I can help them make it better, you know? But, you know, it has to be something I really care about, because if I'm going to sit in one spot and be U.S. president, you know, as U.S. president, ideally you're sitting in the Oval Office for 4 years, right? Like, everybody hated that fucking Trump was down at Mar-a-Lago the whole time, right? Unless, I mean, I guess you have to be on the golf course too, because that's where, like, all the meetings happen. So I guess I would have to golf to be U.S. president. This is going to be the worst part about being president. By far, my least favorite aspect of being U.S. president is going to be having to golf. If I can get people to meet me anywhere other than the golf course, that would be great. Maybe I can get people to go hiking with me instead of golfing with me. Like, we'll just, if the goal is just to be out, well, because then it's not like a manicured lawn with no bugs on it. I don't know. I might have to golf to be U.S. president, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll come up with some kind of anime golf bag or something. If people are going to see me on a golf course, they got to see, I have to really be, like, outrageously gay and anime out on the golf course. Okay. Anyway. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. I'm so good at traveling. Holy shit. A good artist lets his just the more I read this, the more I'm like, wow, I really do let, like, my innate sense of Taoism determine most of my life. Like, this is very much how I live. Like, it's not even like, oh, this is how I would like to live. This is how I live. Like, the mentality of how I approach my life is exactly described in this thing, the Tao. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself from concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. Oh, fuck, I'm going to embody some light so fucking hard. That's why I'm the Golden Witch. I'm like the sun itself. What is a good man but a man's best teacher? What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? Ooh. What is a bad man but a good man's job? What the fuck? That is an awesome pair of lines. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? Whew. If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. I guess so. I guess this is the great secret. I am out here to be the ultimate autistic trans furry, and to help everybody else to be a better autistic trans furry. They want us to think that being autistic, trans, and furry is the bad part. But I'm telling you, none of those negate your ability to be great. In fact, they are probably what lead to your ability to be great. They're probably the best things about you. It's all the other shit we're going to work on together. All right. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a child. Well, I know exactly how to know the male and keep to the female. I'm doing an amazing job of that. Know the white, yet keep to the black. I'm also good at this. Wow, this is really speaking my language. This is very strange. Know the white, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. I cannot wait to return to my primal self, y'all. I'm gunning for my primal self. The world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Keeps to the block? Thus she can use all things. Do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you'll ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you'll lose it. This is also important. That's why as U.S. president, my goal is not to tamper with being the U.S. president. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to be the U.S. I'm not trying to change America. I'm just trying to be America. All right? That's my America. Be America. That's my goal for America. Hey, Americans, continue. There is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides at the center of the circle. Whoever relies on the Tao in governing men doesn't try to force issues or defeat enemies by force of arms. For every force there is counterforce. Violence, even well-intentioned, always rebounds upon itself. The master does his job and then stops. He understands that the universe is forever out of control and that trying to dominate events goes against the current of the Tao. Because he believes in himself, he doesn't try to convince others. Because he is content with himself, that's important. Actually, I've been talking about being convincing being a part of my thing, but being convincing doesn't mean that I have to go out of my way to convince others. It means that people are already convinced. So if I'm having to go out of my way to be convincing, like I should take the approach that I'm not trying to convince you to make me US president. It simply is an inevitability that will be recognized by everybody paying attention. I don't have to tell you why you should think I'm going to be president. It should be self-evident as something that you believe. All right, anyway. Did I already read this part? Yeah, because he is content with himself, he doesn't need others' approval. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. Weapons are the tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Weapons are the tools of fear. A decent man will avoid them except in the direst necessity, and if compelled will use them only with the utmost restraint. Peace is his highest value. If the peace has been shattered, how can he be content? His enemies are not demons, but human beings like himself. He doesn't wish them personal harm, nor does he rejoice in victory. How could he rejoice in victory and delight in the slaughter of men? He enters a battle gravely, with sorrow and with great compassion, as if he were attending a funeral. I don't own any weapons, but I consider the way I use words to be like a weapon, and I could probably stand to enter my battles with more gravity, sorrow, and great compassion, as if attending a funeral. That would probably help. I'll take that advice. Trixie Lynch, she's been a Taoist the whole time, is not learning. I've been calling myself a Taoist since 2009. I don't talk about it a lot because it's not like something that comes up, but like it's not what I'm trying to say is not that like I'm realizing as in, oh, I happened to live my life this way. I meant realizing as in I've been doing this. Like I read this when I was like 17 and I've been deliberately living my life this way the whole time. I don't talk about it. I don't call it being a Taoist or anything like that. But like, again, if you listen to my, the Tao says that for something just to be, and the song Almost Nothing, I reference this, like, it's just weird to reread it after so long and realize that like at the time I read it, it was like, oh, this is how I should approach things. And now it's like, oh, this is how I do approach things. Like this is how I have been approaching it. Fascinating. Still got a hell of an ego, though, but it's only because I think I am everything, in the same sense that this is like, I think everything is great. So therefore, I am great as a function of everything. As an individual cut apart from everything else, there would be nothing of value. Like what would it? The value only exists insofar as other things can interpret it in the first place. So, I'm basically either totally worthless or the greatest thing that's ever existed in the universe, which is the universe, Anyway, the Tao can't be perceived. Smaller than an electron, it contains uncountable galaxies. If powerful men and women could remain centered on the Tao, all things would be in harmony. The world would become a paradise. All people would be at peace, and the law would be written in their hearts. When you have names and forms, know that they are provisional. When you have institutions, know where their functions should end. Oh God, the United States needs to learn that. This is a big thing I'm going to bring to my presidency. I will know where my institution's functions end. Knowing when to stop, you can avoid any danger. All things end in the Tao as rivers flow into the sea. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. Dope shit. All right, that's where I was told to read to. And now I feel kind of hungry, but I don't really have anything convenient to eat at the house right now. I had to go get something. I could do a temporary stream end. I could stop streaming now, go eat something, and come back and stream more. What do y'all think? Is there anything somebody wants me to read right the hell now? Eating is such a hassle. I love eating. Eating is like my favorite thing to be doing, actually. If I could be doing nothing but eating, I probably would be. But I think it would get tiring. I mean, it would spoil itself. Like part of the magic of eating is that you only do it a couple times a day and then you get excited about it. It's like, oh shit, I'm kind of getting hungry. I'm going to enjoy some food now. Hell yeah. To a cooking stream from your phone. I'm not going to cook nothing. I don't got nothing to cook right now. I need to make a marinade for some steak for later and leave it in the marinade, but if I eat something, I'm gonna probably go pick it up somewhere. Today is Saturday, right? Yeah. And me and Bird are not camping tonight, so I've got all day and all night to be live streaming. So it probably will be a good idea to do it in multiple bursts. Just because it will be crazy to try to do it all day at once. I don't know. Do people think it's more like epic to have like a long stream? Or do you think like several small ones gives them the ability to like pick and choose, not feel like they have to be locked into a 9-hour stream? I don't know. I don't really know the psychology of what length of videos people would prefer. Oh, weird. I thought this person was agreeing with you, Amy, but I guess I read their text wrong. Whatever. Do all white rappers know the white but keep to the black? All the good ones, but definitely not what's his name? The dreadlock dude who's super right wing. Oh, I know this fucking guy. I've listened to his songs. I know who he is. What the fuck? His name is not in my head. McDonald, Tom McDonald. That's the guy. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That person was super dumb. Damn, I didn't realize they were trying to be ironic. I thought they were being straightforward and agreeing with you. But I guess that's what happens when you're assuming people's intelligence. Rationality. Amazing. All right, yeah, I'm going to go get something to eat. I'll be back probably less than an hour. And I'll do more reading and shit. I'll also, I need to I keep forgetting I want to do this, is to download the pre-alpha or whatever of this fucking Chow Garden game. Somebody made a game. So people were telling me that I should get into the Sonic fandom, and I saw this artwork and I went, all right, bet. Sonic fandom it is. And also, there happened to be somebody made a game that's basically just the Chow Garden re-realized as a full game. I know there's been other attempts, but this one is the most like literally the exact same thing as the Chow Garden. I cannot probably be scrolling through all of my likes on Twitter so haphazardly when there are hardcore pornographic images that come up sometimes. How fucking long ago did I retweet this fucking game? I thought this was like yesterday. Here we go. Bobo Bay. Thank you. Bobo Bay. Look at this. It's literally the Chows. Anyway, I'm going to get this demo. I'll probably play this later at some point. This looks fucking adorable. I want to help them alpha test their game or whatever. It's supposed to come out Q4 2025. That's so far from now. Whatever. Looks fucking adorable. All right, I'll be back later.